Okay, I have a hypothetical question for you to kick things off today.
Oh boy.
And I need you to be completely honest with me and, more importantly, honest with yourself. I'm going to give you a choice between two physical activities.
I'm always ready for a hypothetical, though I do worry about what you've got up your sleeve this time.
Hey, you should be.
Let's hear it.
All right, here is option A. You have to strap on a pair of running shoes, stand on the beach in Santa Monica, California, and run.
Okay.
Run all the way to Denver, Colorado.
Oh, wow.
We are talking about running across the Mojave Desert, climbing up the Colorado Plateau, crossing the Rockies, the full cross-continental experience.
What is that, 1,000 miles?
Roughly 1,000 miles of grueling physical exertion.
That sounds absolutely horrific. I'm already dehydrated just thinking about the elevation gain. I mean, that's an ultra-marathoner's nightmare, let alone for a regular person.
It's a total nightmare. But here is option B.
Okay, I'm hoping it's easier.
You go through a single human pregnancy.
Oh.
Just the 9 months of gestation, no running involved, just the biological process of growing a human. So which one do you pick?
If I'm just going off gut instinct.
Yeah, gut instinct.
I think most people, especially if they haven't experienced pregnancy personally, would look at the map, see that huge distance between LA and Denver, and assume the pregnancy is the easier option.
Right. Physically easier.
Yeah, physically. I mean, running across 3 states seems like this superhuman feat, something reserved for, a very specific type of athlete.
You would think so.
Yeah.
It feels completely intuitive that running 1,000 miles is just, it's worlds harder than, say, sitting in a chair while a baby grows.
Exactly.
But according to the research we are unpacking today, that intuition is completely and utterly wrong.
Oh, I had a feeling you were leading me into a trap here.
It turns out this is the great biological equalizer. The source material for this deep dive argues that both of these activities, both, the ultramarathon from the West Coast to the Rockies and the gestation of a human baby, they consume roughly the same amount of energy.
You're kidding me. The same.
80,000 calories.
80,000. Wow. When you put a specific number on it like that, it stops being this abstract concept of expecting and becomes a thermodynamic reality.
Yeah.
That is a staggering amount of energy.
It is. And that number is just the starting line.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we aren't looking at dating advice or romance or, why your crush is leaving you on read.
No, this is much more fundamental.
We are looking at the cold, hard, caloric economics of reproduction.
We are taking a very specific lens today. The text we are analyzing is titled Darwinism, Survival of the Sexiest.
It's a great title.
It's a provocative title for sure, but the content is even more striking. It essentially strips away all the poetry, the flowers, the chocolates, and the social constructs we layer over our relationship.
All the nice stuff.
All of it. And it looks at them strictly as a biological market. Survival of the Sexiest. It sounds like a reality TV show on MTV, But the implications are actually, they're deeply scientific.
They are. We're going to explore why women are, evolutionarily speaking, notoriously choosy, why men often struggle with the concept of commitment.
Right.
And this is the part that I found most fascinating, how these preferences have literally sculpted the human body over thousands and thousands of generations.
We're going to talk about why trying to date a hot woman is mathematically similar to finding a parking spot in downtown San Francisco.
Hey, I can't wait for that one.
We're going to discuss why a necktie is actually a biological signal pointing directly to your crotch. But we have to stick with that caloric ledger for a moment, because 80,000 calories, that is a serious, serious investment.
It creates an immediate and fundamental asymmetry between the sexes. I mean, in economics, you look for market imbalances to understand behavior, right?
Right, supply and demand.
Well, in biology, that 80,000 calorie figure is the biggest imbalance in human history. It is the foundation of almost every conflict, every confusion, and every game played in the dating world.
So let's audit this caloric ledger then. Let's really dig in. We've established the cost for the female, 80,000 calories, just to get the baby to the finish line of birth. That's the biological overhead.
The ante, just to get into the game.
Exactly. Now, to keep this fair, let's look at the male side of the equation. What is the caloric cost for a man to contribute his essential part to the reproductive process?
Well, the source puts it quite bluntly and perhaps a bit ruthlessly.
I'm ready.
For a man, the caloric expenditure of the reproductive act of sex is roughly equivalent to sitting on the couch and watching a football game.
Wait, watching it. We're playing in the game, because that's a real workout.
No, absolutely not playing, watching it.
So you're saying it's a toss-up?
We are talking about a metabolic toss-up between procreation and spectating. The source actually breaks it down even further. The act of producing sperm is metabolically negligible. It happens in the background.
It's on autopilot.
Completely. And the act of sex itself burns a few calories, sure, but in the grand scheme of survival of this huge caloric economy, it's a rounding error.
So on one side of the scale, you have a cross-continental run through the desert involving massive tissue growth and metabolic strain.
Right.
On the other side, you have a Sunday afternoon with a remote control and a bag of chips.
Precisely. Now, to be fair to the guys, the author does note this funny little caveat.
Hey?
If the man decides he wants to satisfy the woman as well, what the text calls the pregame show,
The pregame show?
then sure, the calorie count ticks up. Maybe he burns a few extra calories. Maybe he breaks a sweat. But here is the critical difference. Once the act is done, for the man, the biological cost drops to zero. The transaction is complete. He is, from a purely biological standpoint, free to go.
He pays his bill at the register and walks out of the store. No further obligation.
He walks out. But for the woman, that act is just the signing of the contract. If conception happens, she isn't walking out of the store. She is strapping on her running shoes for that trek to Denver.
And this is the part that often gets overlooked in modern discussions, right? The run to Denver is only the beginning.
It's just the warm-up.
This brings us to an analogy in the source material that I found genuinely terrifying. It's described as the deal from hell.
It's a great framing for it.
Because logically, if the cost is that high, why would anyone sign up for it? If I told you, hey, sign this paper and you owe me 80,000 calories, you'd call the police.
You'd run away. But biology forces the signature. Let's play out the deal from hell, as the author describes it. Step 1. The woman runs from LA to Denver. She's exhausted. She has spent her 80,000 calories. The baby is born.
Okay, finish line.
You'd think. But in many animal species, the baby stands up and walks away. A foal can run within hours. A giraffe drops 6 feet and then gets up and walks.
Right. But human babies are born incredibly premature. I remember reading, it's because our brains are so big we have to be born early or we literally wouldn't fit through the birth canal. So we come out half-baked.
We are, as the text so vividly describes them, helpless blobs of flesh.
That's not a flattering description, but it's accurate.
It is. They cannot feed themselves. They cannot move. They cannot regulate their own temperature well. So she can't just leave the baby at the finish line in Denver and go have a celebratory drink.
The race isn't over. Not even close.
No. This is where step 2 comes in. The woman now has to jump onto the man's back.
Literally piggybacking.
Literally piggybacking. And then step 3, the man with the woman and the brand new baby on his back must now run around the entire planet.
Okay, wait. Around the planet. That sounds excessive. That's got to be hyperbole.
It sounds like hyperbole, but let's do the math on the calories. We were talking about the breastfeeding years. Now, in foraging societies, which, remember, represents about 99% of our evolutionary history, there were no breast pumps.
No formula.
No formula, no daycare, no nanny. Breastfeeding lasted 2 to 4 years, and it's incredibly energy-intensive for the mother.
And then what?
And then, for the next 15 years after that, the couple has to run side by side around the Earth to feed and protect that offspring until it can fend for itself.
When you visualize it as running around the Earth, the energy requirement seems impossible. It's beyond comprehension.
It is astronomical. The text estimates that raising a single child from infancy to independence requires burning 10 to 13 million extra calories.
10 to 13 million.
Yeah. And that includes the food you have to hunt and gather to feed them, the energy spent carrying them, the energy spent protecting them from predators, from the elements.
10 to 13 million. That is a number that is so big it's hard to even wrap your head around. It just becomes an abstraction.
And here is the kicker, which the author calls the no resting rule.
Oh, there's more.
There's always more. If you stop running, even for a few days, in the harsh environment of the Pleistocene savanna, the child starves.
The genetic line ends. Just like that.
Right there. There are no weekends off in nature. There's no paid time off. You stop, you lose.
This reframes the whole fear of commitment stereotype completely.
It really does.
When we talk about a guy hesitating to label a relationship or not wanting to settle down, we treat it like he's just being immature or, playing the field.
Or that it's a purely emotional or psychological thing.
Right. But looking at this, he's facing a terrified calculation deep in his brain of Do I really want to run around the Earth with this person? Can I afford this?
It's not just stubbornness, it's a survival calculation happening in the reptilian brain. For the woman, the risk is immediate physical and internal, the 80,000 calories. For the man, the risk is this long-term, massive caloric debt.
This is a mortgage on his entire life's energy.
Exactly. And the expert points out a very specific reason why men agree to this piggyback contract at all. Why would any male sign up to burn 13 million calories carrying a heavy load?
There has to be a payoff. I mean, evolution doesn't do charity.
The payoff is paternity certainty, or rather, the hope of it. The man agrees to this massive expenditure, providing food, protection, and resources for 15+ years, because he is pretty sure the kid is his.
Pretty sure. Seems like a really shaky foundation for a 13 million calorie investment.
Welcome to male biology. In biology, pretty sure is often the best you get, but that uncertainty is exactly what drives the male demand for monogamy and commitment. He needs to know that the 10 million calories he's about to hunt and gather and burn are going toward his own genes, not someone else's.
Right. If he carries the load for another man's genes, what's that term? Cuckoldry.
Cuckoldry, in evolutionary terms. If that happens, he has lost the evolutionary game completely. He has spent all his fuel to drive someone else's car to the finish line. It's the ultimate biological failure.
It really makes the whole dinner and a movie ritual seem so much higher stakes.
Oh, it does.
We think we're just seeing if we have chemistry, but we are essentially negotiating millions of calories over appetizers.
We are. And that negotiation is driven by the laws of supply and demand, just like any other economy.
Which leads us perfectly into the next section of our deep dive, the biological marketplace. We've looked at the cost of labor, the running. Now let's look at the product itself, the gametes, sperm and eggs.
Yes.
Because if we are talking economics, we have to talk about unit price.
And this is where the financial disparity becomes, it's almost laughable. This source breaks down the street value of these biological assets, and it's just shocking how wide the gap is.
Okay, hit me with the numbers. Let's start with the male contribution. What is it worth on the open market?
Well, let's look at sperm. It is incredibly abundant. A single teaspoon contains about 100 million sperm.
100 million.
And the market value of that. If you go to a sperm bank, the donor gets paid about $50.
$50. 50 for 100 million potential humans.
Do the math. It's just mind-boggling. That means you need about 20,000 sperm to equal the value of a single penny.
Wow. Inflation has definitely not hit the sperm market. That is dirt cheap.
It is biologically cheap to produce. It's abundant. It's essentially a commodity with an almost infinite supply. A healthy man produces millions every single day. He can produce them until he is in his 80s or 90s. From an economic standpoint, sperm is dust. It's everywhere.
Okay, so that's the budget option.
That's the budget option. Now, compare that to the egg.
A luxury item.
The ultimate luxury item. A single human egg one can fetch $50,000 on the open market.
$50,000 for just one.
Just one. And the text makes a crucial point here. That $50,000 price tag doesn't even include the womb rental.
Right, the run to Denver.
Exactly. If you factor in the gestational service, surrogacy, medical costs, the physical risk we just talked about, the price goes into the stratosphere. Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
There is this great line in the source that it stopped me in my tracks. It says, if your womb was made of solid gold, it would be cheaper than the womb you actually have.
It's a powerful image because it's mathematically true in terms of biological investment and market value. And this disparity, this massive price difference, explains the market dynamics perfectly. In capitalism, the market decides value based on scarcity.
And sperm is not scarce.
Not at all. Women are almost never worried about a shortage of sperm.
There's a penny's worth on every corner, to be blunt about it.
It's harsh to say, but true. Women aren't worried about finding the genetic material. They are worried about finding that dependable piggybacker.
They need the labor, not just the seed.
Precisely. Men, on the other hand, are the ones facing the scarcity problem. They are competing for a limited number of eggs and a limited number of wombs.
And a woman is born with all the eggs she'll ever have. It's a finite resource.
A very finite resource that declines in quality over time. So the men are in a race against the clock, competing for a scarce, high-value asset.
This brings us to the analogy that I teased in the intro. I think everyone listening will appreciate this, especially if you live in a dense city.
I'm ready.
The author compares trying to date a hot woman or, any highly desirable mate to finding parking in San Francisco.
It's a brilliant analogy because it captures the feeling of helplessness and competition that many men feel in the face of high demand.
So imagine you are driving around San Francisco, maybe North Beach or downtown. You want to park, but there are no empty spaces. None. You don't get to just pick the best spot and pull in. The spot's already taken.
Right, so you're just driving in circles, burning gas.
Burning calories.
Burning calories, waiting. You are active, you are looking, you are stressing out, but you have no control.
And the source says, and this is the key line, you don't choose parking. Parking chooses you.
Ah, yeah.
You just have to be there, ready, circling the block when a spot happens to open up right in front of you. It's about timing and luck as much as anything.
And to extend the metaphor, as the author does, once you get that spot, the meter is running.
Immediately.
You have to pay for every single minute. It's not free parking. There are costs associated with occupying that space.
It's such a cynical but hilarious way to view courtship.
Yeah.
But it explains why men often feel like they have to pursue or hover or, constantly be on. They are circling the block. If they stop circling and drive away, they definitely won't get a spot.
It also explains the female position in this analogy. If you are the parking spot, the scarce resource, you have all the power to set the price. You get to be picky.
You can demand a certain type of car.
You can demand high rates. You can say, I only want a car that is reliable, has good insurance, and won't leak oil everywhere.
And this leads to what the text calls the nesting potential.
Right.
Because if you are the woman and you know you have to run to Denver and then be piggybacked around the world, you need to vet the applicants.
Yeah.
You can't just let any old clunky car park in the spot. You need a car that is going to last the distance.
Exactly. The woman becomes a smart shopper. She has to. On the Pleistocene Savannah, picking the wrong mate wasn't just a bad breakup or a messy divorce.
It was death.
It was death. If he leaves or if he can't provide food or if he can't protect you from a predator, you and the baby likely die. So women evolved to look for signs of nesting potential.
So what counts as nesting potential? I mean, today we immediately think of money. But what was it back then?
It's not just money, because money didn't exist for most of our history. It's resources, it's status within the group, it's the ability to secure safety and food, it's intelligence, it's strength, it's social connection.
All the things that would make that run around the earth more likely to succeed.
Precisely. And this brings us to a really personal part of the source material. The author talks about his own life as a young man. He was an English major.
Oh, the classic struggle of art versus commerce. I feel this one deep in my soul.
He wanted to be a poet. He resented his parents telling him to go make a buck. He felt that his soul, his infinite potentialities, as he put it, shouldn't be reduced to a dollar sign.
He wanted to be loved for his mind, his words, his spirit.
It's the romantic ideal, right? Love me for who I am, not what I provide. We see this in movies all the time. The starving artist gets the girl because his soul is pure.
But what was the verdict from the real-world dating market? How did that work out for him?
It wasn't like the movies.
I had a feeling.
No, it was. It was brutal. He admits that while the poems got the verbal vote, women said they liked them, they appreciated the metaphors, they thought he was sensitive and deep.
They gave him praise.
Lots of praise. But when it came down to actual mate selection, they voted with their vaginas for paychecks.
That is a harsh phrase. Voted with their vaginas. It sounds so crude.
It is crude, but I think the author uses it to distinguish between social politeness and deep biological drive. We have a frontal cortex that appreciates art and poetry, but we have a much older, much more powerful limbic system that needs security.
That's the distinction. The poem represents the promise.
Right.
It's a signal of intelligence, sure, maybe some creativity, which are good things. But the paycheck represents the nest.
And you can't raise a baby on promises. You can't feed a toddler with metaphors.
Evolution dictates that the nest almost always wins over the promise.
Yeah.
It's not because women are materialistic in a shallow modern sense.
Not at all.
It's because they are pragmatic in a deep survival sense. A poem doesn't keep a saber-toothed cat away from the cave. A poem doesn't bring home a gazelle when you're starving.
Precisely. And men know this, consciously or unconsciously. They know they need to signal that they have the nest capability. And there's this great observation about the necktie in this section.
A necktie.
The author says a tie is basically a giant arrow pointing to the crotch.
Which, I mean, now that you say it, I can't unsee that. It literally hangs down and points right there.
It is a phallic symbol, certainly, but it serves a dual purpose. It's not just sexual, it's social.
He says it's a symbol of success. It says, I have a job, I have status, I can afford to wear a piece of colored fabric that serves no functional purpose,
None whatsoever.
other than to show I fit into the hierarchy.
That is the key. No functional purpose. If you are working in a factory or hunting in the woods, you can't wear a tie. It would get caught in the machinery. It would get snagged on a branch.
It's a liability in any kind of physical job.
Exactly. So wearing a tie signals, I am removed from physical labor. My work is cognitive. I have status. And this segues perfectly into one of the most important concepts in evolutionary biology: sexual selection and the peacock principle.
Okay, let's unpack the peacock principle, because we see this in nature all the time. And we definitely see it in humans, even if we don't always realize it.
So sexual selection is the idea that if one sex, usually the female, because of that higher investment of the egg and pregnancy has the power to choose, their preferences will literally shape the physical bodies of the other sex over generations.
Basically, if the ladies like it, the guys will eventually look like it.
That's the simplest way to put it, yes. If the peahens consistently prefer peacocks with slightly more vibrant blue feathers, then the peacocks with duller feathers just don't get to mate as much.
And their genes don't get passed on.
And over time, the entire population of male peacocks becomes more vibrantly blue. And the classic example of this is the peacock's tail itself.
Right, the giant, ridiculous tail.
Now think about that tail from a pure survival perspective. It is heavy, it is bright green and blue, it makes it very hard to fly. It makes it incredibly easy for a tiger or a leopard to spot you from a mile away.
It's like wearing a neon sign that says, "Eat me."
Exactly. From a pure staying alive standpoint, it is a terrible idea. It's a massive liability.
It's inefficient. It's dangerous. So why have it?
Because it is a massive asset for reproduction. It is a display of what we call conspicuous consumption, or the handicap principle.
Conspicuous consumption. That sounds like buying a Ferrari when a Honda Civic would get you to work just fine.
That's a perfect modern analogy. It's exactly like buying a Ferrari. The message of the peacock tail is, look how powerful I am. I am so healthy, so well-fed, and so genetically robust that I can afford to waste all this energy growing this giant useless tail, and I'm still alive.
It's the ultimate flex. I can carry this huge handicap and predators still can't catch me. That's how good I am.
It is. I can afford to waste resources. And the source material argues that many human male traits are the exact same thing. A big house, a big muscular body that requires a ton of calories to maintain, a fancy car, they are all the peacock's tail.
They all signal the ability to acquire nutrition and resources and have plenty left over to waste on display.
Correct. So only the males with enough power to get those resources can afford the display. If you're starving, you can't grow a big shiny tail.
Yeah.
If you're broke, you can't buy the Ferrari.
And this leads to a really fascinating realization, which is that men are built how they are built because women like them that way.
Yes, women are the sculptors of the male form.
Which is such a powerful idea. The source calls it gals' fashions in guys.
Yeah.
And the examples given to prove this are just wild. We're going to look at two groups of people living in Africa, geographically very close to each other, but looking completely radically different.
We are talking about the Watusi in the regions of Rwanda and Burundi, and the Pygmies in the Congo rainforest.
Let's start with the Watusi. The author describes their courtship ritual as a kind of reverse Miss America pageant.
Yes. In our modern Western culture, we are so used to women parading for judgment, beauty pageants, modeling on Instagram.
The female is the one on display.
Right. But in the Watusi culture, historically, the men are the contestants and the women are the judges.
So the guys are out there on the runway, so to speak, and what are they doing?
They are leaping and dancing. The source says they leap and dance before the single women, then await their choices. It's an athletic display. They are showing off their physical prowess, their vitality.
And what were the Watusi women looking for? What was on their checklist for a desirable man?
They had a very specific aesthetic, a very clear type. They preferred tall stature, clear eyes, long noses, healthy teeth, and crucially for the leaping part, they liked high jumpers.
They wanted the guys who could get up in the air, the ones with explosive power.
Exactly. And this preference wasn't just a fad for one summer. This preference persisted for generation after generation after generation. And when you apply that kind of consistent selective pressure over hundreds or thousands of years, what happens to the population?
Maybe giants.
You get giants. The Watusi men evolved to have extreme height, bulging white eyes, long equine noses. Some of them are 8 feet tall.
8 feet. That is just immense. The author mentions Manute Bol, the NBA player who is 7'7", He was from the Dinka tribe, which is right there in the same region, and shares similar genetics and presumably similar ancestral preferences.
Exactly. That phenotype, that body type, is a direct result of female choice over millennia. The source jokes that if the Watusi ever entered the Olympic high jump, the rest of the world would be in big trouble.
They'd have to raise the bar. Literally.
But the core point is, their bodies were sculpted by the female gaze. The women picked the tall, high-jumping guys, so the shorter guys didn't have as many kids. Rinse and repeat for 1,000 years, and you get some of the tallest people on the planet.
It's incredible to think about. The women liked tall guys, so the guys got taller and taller and taller. It's evolution in fast forward.
Now, for the amazing contrast, compare that to case study B, the Pygmies.
Living just a few hundred miles away, so same general environment.
Geographically, they are neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
but the average height of a Watusi man is 6'5" or more. The average height of an Mbuti Pygmy man is 4'4".
That is a massive difference, over 2 feet of difference on average. It's staggering.
And why? Did the environment make them short? I mean, maybe partially. The dense jungle environment favors smaller frames. It's easier to move through the underbrush.
Sure, that makes some sense.
But the source argues the main driver was, once again, female preference. Gals' fashions and guys.
So what were the pygmy women looking for? If not height, then what?
They didn't care about height. They didn't care about jumping. Historically, in their culture, they decided that the perfect measure of health and vitality was healthy buttocks.
They liked a big butt.
They did. Sir Mix-a-Lot would have been very popular. And this preference led to a specific biological trait called steatopygia.
Steatopygia, that's a great word for Scrabble. What does it actually mean biologically?
It's the scientific term for a condition involving substantial fat accumulation, specifically on the buttocks. In environments with unpredictable food sources, it serves as a visible reserve of energy, similar to a camel's hump, but located elsewhere.
So it's a genuine sign of health, of being well-fed.
A very clear and obvious one. So, in a pygmy village, if you are a short man with steatopygia, you are the heartthrob. You are the Brad Pitt of the Congo rainforest.
You are the big hit, and that's the relativity of attraction made flesh.
Absolutely.
It's just so funny to imagine these two groups. You have the towering, thin Watusi high jumpers on one side of the mountain range, and the short, curvy pygmy guys on the other. And it's not because the food was different or the climate was that different.
No.
It's because the taste was different. The fashion was different.
That is the synthesis here. This is the big so what. The environment didn't dictate this alone. Gals' fashions and guys did. Our specific turn-ons, whatever they happen to be in our specific tribe at a specific time, literally built the brains and bodies of the species.
It puts a whole new spin on the phrase, my type. Your type isn't just some random personal preference. It's a sculpting tool. When you swipe right on a dating app, you are, in a very small way, casting a vote for the future of the species.
It is a chisel, and every choice removes a little bit of marble from the statue of humanity. It's a profound thought.
So we've covered the cost, the market, the evaluation process, and the physical results. As we start to wrap up this deep dive, we have to talk about the power dynamic. Because historically, we often hear about patriarchy and men controlling women. But this source flips that on its head, at least biologically.
It absolutely does. The author concludes that women hold a goddess-like power over how males are built.
Goddess-like power. That's a strong phrase. It implies creation, architecture.
Well, think about it. For millions of years, from our earliest ancestors, the Australopithecines, Homo erectus, all the way to us, it was female choice that decided which male genes moved forward into the next generation. The author calls this process human salvation.
Human salvation. How so?
If the women hadn't over time chosen the smarter guys or the more cooperative guys or the guys who were better providers, guys who were better fathers,
we wouldn't be here, or
Yeah.
we'd be a very different species.
we wouldn't be here. Or we would be here, but we would look and act very differently. Maybe we'd be smaller. Maybe we'd be more brutally aggressive and less social. Maybe we wouldn't have developed complex language. We are the product of millions of years of women saying yes to one set of traits and no to another. Every trait we see in men today, from height to intelligence to, yes, even the tendency to buy sports cars, pass through the filter of female choice.
It really makes you think about the responsibility of dating. It's not just about finding someone to watch Netflix with on a Friday night.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger game than we think.
It is, and the source leaves us with one final, very provocative thought. We are the first species in the history of life on Earth to actually understand this mechanism.
Right. The peacock doesn't know why he has a tail. He just knows the ladies like it and it's heavy to carry around.
Exactly. And the peahen doesn't know she's sculpting the future of her species. She's just acting on instinct. A Watusi man doesn't necessarily know his great-great-grandmother liked high jumpers, but we know. We have the science. We understand the mechanism of sexual selection.
So here's the final thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. Now that you know that your preferences, what you find attractive, who you swipe right on, who you choose to build a life with, are actually shaping the physical and mental evolution of the human race. Does that change how you look at your dating app?
It's a heavy question. Are you swiping for the moment or are you swiping for the species? Are you choosing the promise of the poem or the nest of the paycheck? And what does that choice mean not just for you, but for generations to come?
Something to think about next time you're stuck in traffic, circling the block, looking for that parking spot. Thanks for taking the deep dive with us.
A pleasure as always.